Hey there, it's meteorologist Jamie Singleton. You are looking at a line of thunderstorms, a cluster of thunderstorms. These are particularly strong considering the fact that it's 4:06 in the morning. However, it is that type of situation that we are looking at for the area as we go throughout the day today. And starting right now, normally when I jump on here, sorry, it's early. Clear the frog out of my throat here. But normally when I get on like this, it's because we have afternoon stuff that we are anticipating. This is an area of storms that we saw on the models for the past couple of days. And if you were a follower of my Patreon, you know that I've been concerned about this since about Friday or Saturday. I wrote a detailed blog about why this is happening. It's not because of ichthyosis just yet. It's more because of an approaching jet streak that's going to lift the air. But we have a severe thunderstorm warning right now that is of most concern for Fancy Gap. It's southwestern Carroll County here going into Patrick County and around Mount Airy here into North Carolina. This is in effect until 4:15 a.m., so for about another 8 minutes. We had a strong storm at 3:31 near Cana. The cell now has moved up to the north, and we put that into motion. These are training also over the same areas, and so my bet is you're going to see some flooding from this in Carroll County, or at least some flood advisories or flash flood warnings from this pretty soon as it continues to train over the same areas. There's low gap there in North Carolina, north of Dobson, coming over to right around Galax. You can probably see all the lightning in the distance. These are highly electrical storms. It tends to happen when you get a lot of lift. But Cana, Duxbury, Laurel Fork, Lambsburg in the path of this. There could be some hail in this as well, but it's a tropical air mass moving in, and so these things are really putting down a lot of rain. Let me put you on another radar scope here. We'll show you if there's any special weather statements in effect. The one thing that you can kind of see here in green is the flash flood watch, which covers Botetourt County, Bedford, Amherst, Lexington, up to Lynchburg here in the Martinsville and Chatham there. That severe thunderstorm warning now has expired for North Carolina, but going down through Chatham and Gretna into Halifax County, where there's also a flood advisory in effect, and that's until 4:15, so another few minutes on that. But they had some heavy rain of 2 to locally 4 inches. That's the thing, when a tropical system starts to move in, you get these incredibly high rainfall rates, and this is see the red and the blue there? That's a stationary front that's lined up. So when we talk about a tropical system, we're normally talking about just the system itself. How much rain is going to fall around the core of the system? Where's the center going to go? How far wide is the rain around the core of the system? But when we have what we call a predecessor rain event, where you have the storm, but you also have a stalled front and a jet stream to the northwest of that storm, well, that's the setup that we're in for today and going into tonight. And so we've got the jet stream over us now. What that's doing is it's lifting the air up underneath it. When you have a lot of wind aloft, the wind from below can lift back up as the air flows through that jet streak. So it creates its own lift, and that lift can be significant, especially when you have a lot of moisture coming into play around that tropical system. As the tropical system gets closer, it will siphon that moisture. It will suck it from the storm. The storm will still have moisture, but it will wring it back out over our area. So there will be 2 areas of heavy rain once this is said and done. One will be out right along the track of the storm. The other will be for our area, well to the northwest of the storm, not that far northwest, but where you will notice 2 bullseyes of rainfall when this is all said and done. So that's the concern. Heavier rainfall too into North Carolina here. This is in Stokes County, Stokes, Surrey County here, and the Yadkin County, also around Wilkes County, Allegheny County, North Carolina, down through Catawba County, North Carolina, Hickory, Morganton, just to the east of Asheville here. We've got some heavier rainfall on the edge of the radar scope, and you can see that this is also producing a lot of lightning near Hickory. And look at the movement. The movement is to the north and to the east. So it's going to continue through the morning hours. I looked at a lot of near-term models and I saw that Also have some more rain now headed into the horse pasture, Martinsville, and Spencer. This is the lightning in Franklin County that temporarily knocked our power out here at the cable company and into cable 12 here. But you can see all of the lightning. That is an incredible amount of lightning there around Sidnersville, or just east of Sidnersville, into Figsboro is what I was thinking of. That's headed towards you in Pinhook. So a highly electrical storm due to a lot of lift in that jet stream. And so this has been my concern. Also a big cell nearing the Moneta area. Bedford may get this pretty soon. There's another cell just to the east of Pinhook producing a ton of lightning. So in Franklin County, on my way in, I almost didn't need my phone light to open the door because we had so much lightning going on, and it can be kind of scary in the middle of the night. But just to show you right now, there are no, that one severe thunderstorm warning just expired. I've got the alerts linked to my watch here, so I can see that as I'm on the air. I can just look down at my watch, it'll vibrate, and I'll be able to tell you that throughout the day today. I plan on being on the air just about at all times when necessary throughout the day today and going into the night tonight, and we'll see what happens. I was thinking about going into North Carolina to maybe chase the center of the storm, but we're going to have enough action here, I think, for me to maybe stay local, but we'll see what happens there. But that's a look at your radar. Let me show you kind of a different vantage point. There you can see all the lightning, and that's a current view, so I'm going to put this in motion as well so you can see what's going on as I take a sip of Diet Pepsi. So excuse me, I'm on a medication that controls my blood pressure, and it makes my mouth really dry. Okay, so looks to me like we're going to continue to see this. This is, again, that cluster of storms, and I've got live lightning data on here so that you can see as the lightning data comes in, which is usually within a second or two, you will see it pop up and glow on your screen. And the lightning technology is amazing, especially with the software that I have through RadarScope and through WSV3. As the lightning strikes, it'll show me how energetic the lightning strikes are. In other words, the one 2.3 seconds ago was over that area there. As you can see, that was the area of the lightning strike. The energy produced just now from that one lightning strike was 1.66 petajoules, I believe is that. That's an incredible amount of energy. Some of the other ones, though, you can see 0.5, 1.4, and what my software does, if it's a strong lightning strike, the icon is bigger. The icon correlates to how much energy is contained in the lightning strikes. They're not all created equal. Some of them come out of a lot of them come out of the bottom of the storm. You just saw some more data coming in that glowed there at the bottom of the screen. A lot of them come out of the bottom of the storm called cloud to ground. Those are negatively charged lightning strikes, and they, let's see, I just got a notification here. They are generally weak compared to the ones the lightning that jumps out of the top of the cloud into flat areas. And those are the ones that make the most noise for a big area. They are about 10 times more energetic and can cause, and they may be more than 10 times, I'll have to research it, but they're exponentially almost more energetic than the regular cloud to ground lightning strikes. So whenever you hear a big bam and the rain's pretty far away, those are the positive lightning strikes that can happen. One thing to note is that we are foggy in the Redwood area this morning. We've had some rain, obviously, over the past couple of days, so where the ground is moist and we were able to temporarily clear out the dew point and the temperature came together. And why is that important now? Well, when there's cool air near the surface, like we have with fog, it creates a duct. It creates a layer where the sound waves can travel better. So it's atmospheric ducting that we're seeing, kind of a spooky situation here in Redwood where it's foggy and the thunder's somewhat louder than it normally is, and the lightning's glowing more because it's hitting the fog, and it's kind of like a strobe effect out there. So more bark than bite to a lot of this, because the main concern I have is a lot of people here in the next 2 to 3 hours will be getting up and heading out to work or whatever they got to do. The morning commute could be pretty dangerous, because we're going to see some flooding by that time. We're going to see some roads in the typical low spots start to flood where these storms are occurring, and we're going to see new storms developing that may become severe. And they can become severe at any point because we just have so much moisture in place, and that's helping the instability. We've got a front that these storms can kind of spin along at times if they want to. We saw that in Fincastle. Can't rule that out. Can't rule out an isolated tornado through tonight with this, but I don't see any big rotation right now. It looks to be just heavy rain and a ton of lightning, maybe some isolated wind damage as well in some of this. I just want you to keep your guard up throughout the day today. And when I mention that, I wanted to say that it's obviously not this afternoon. It's now. It's right now through the day today. So this afternoon, it's not going to clear up. It may clear up for a lot of areas. If it does, that's bad news. It helps the instability. But there will be additional lines of storms throughout the afternoon. I just want to kind of hammer that in your head there, and then we're going to see the tropical storm, or what could be the hurricane Isaias, back to a hurricane possibly here as we go right before landfall. Let me show you what's going to be happening with that here. We'll put the model up here. I'll make your screen a little bigger. And by the way, this is now going out to Instagram directly in my Instagram live feed and on my story. So if you want to follow me on Instagram there, you'll also be able to see this screen. It'll be a little bit different proportion because they're not all the same, but this is the compromise I've reached with all the social media. Hope to do Snapchat soon. If they can add that too, that would be cool. I may be able to go live on Snapchat the old-fashioned way. We'll see. That's where the kids are, so it's nice to get all the generations weather aware, so to speak. So let me show you right now. This is the 2 areas of rain. You can see here on the model, you can see that jet streak I'm talking about. This is an area of jet stream lift, and that's why you're seeing all these weak echoes in our forecast and the model forecast for this morning. That's high clouds being blown off of these storms that we're getting in the jet streak. So it's going to be sitting right here, and again, it's going to be lifting the air underneath. So as the sun comes out today, look what happens on the model. Even the mountainous areas up to the Allegheny Highlands, we start to see more in the way of activity here, and a lot of activity, some spin noted because we've got that stalled front there as well. We've also got a new area of rain that blossoms there around Martinsville and Danville. This is later on today. This is not this morning. This is around 3 o'clock today. By 3 o'clock, it'll be blossoming before that. But then as you move up here into this afternoon at 4 o'clock, according to the model, everyone's getting some rainfall. It may be light. It may be just sprinkling, but other areas may be getting torrential downpours. And that's why the National Weather Service has that flash flood watch out just for that. It's not as much the storm itself. It's down here right off the coast of Charleston. And it may come in around Charleston, the Myrtle Beach, the Wilmington. Anywhere in this area is where it could come in. Sometimes they tend to come in a little bit further south than forecast. Either way, for our area, we don't really need to concern ourselves with that. We've got the system that's pulling the jet stream in over us, okay? So by this time, the models are picking up the tropical moisture here going into the jet stream. And you notice, I want you to look at the center of the storm. It starts to get an eye. So that's telling me, and the satellite pictures looked pretty good last night, but it's telling me that the storm is somewhat strengthening before landfall. So this may go back up to 75, 80, 85 miles an hour, maybe even 90 before it hits Myrtle Beach or North Myrtle Beach. That could be pretty devastating right along the beaches there. Remember with Matthew, we had the Sunny May Pier, I believe, went down. A lot of damage was done right near the coast, and it was a minimal hurricane. So even with minimal hurricanes, you're going to get some damage on the coast because a hurricane's a hurricane. And sometimes we get caught up in categories and forget that the impacts can still be really big. Don't forget there will be some spin-up tornadoes in here as well. What concerns me is that the storm doesn't parallel the coast at this point. I talked to someone yesterday that said, I thought it's going up the coast. No, it is for a while, but by Monday in the middle of the night, it's going to get sucked into the Raleigh area, okay? and it's got some inertia with it. So even though the friction of the land is going to tear it apart some, it's still going to have some inertial stability where it's still going to hold together, somewhat of an I feature by the time it gets to Raleigh. It won't be a hurricane by then, hopefully, but it may be a strong tropical storm, and that will be in wind gusts over 50 to 60 to 70 miles per hour around the center here. And I think this the trough off to the west may pull this further west. We saw that with Michael, and I was able to tell you before it happened that I was looking at the radar trends, and we'll have to look again with that system. But with this system, I mean, to see if the trend is further west. But right now, the core of the tropical moisture directly will be around Lynchburg to Smith Mountain Lake and Martinsville and east. Not quite up to Martinsville according to the model. But if we allow for corrections that we've seen in the past, we may want to look at areas through Franklin County and maybe even in the Roanoke again to see if we get that western core of precip, because after all the storms today, this would mean some trouble, and it would mean some pretty good wind gusts. I'll show you that in just a second. This dry mouth is rough, man. All right, Tuesday morning. It still shows a clearing in the center. It's amazing that it's holding together that well. And so if it holds together like the model says, what it may be doing is using the jet stream as lift, and it may be helping to hold that storm together because of something that usually tears it apart. Usually the shear will tear it apart some, but the lift may be able to overcome that, and that's what we may be seeing on the modeling here. Heads right up I-95, the center does. But again, the impacts are so far away from the center, and as it weakens some, the impacts will spread out. A strong hurricane can be very compact. It can still be large, but fairly compact, and then as it moves over land, it spreads out because it doesn't have the same amount of spin with it to hold it in place. It's still got like a center there, but it may begin to fan out, and some of the higher winds will start to fan out as well. That's what happens to these things over land. What that also means is there may be tornadoes in eastern Virginia late Monday night into Tuesday, and there will probably be some tornadoes in North Carolina east of Raleigh and east here coming up for tonight. So we're going to watch that very carefully because I think impacts will be huge. I'm not so worried about the NRV right now, but Roanoke and east, especially Smith Mountain Lake and east, needs to watch the core of the storm. Let's look at wind gusts, because we want to show you this particular model. I noticed the NAM kind of overestimates the wind gust on this, but in this case, it may give you a good idea of what's going on. 79 knots, that's about 83 miles per hour. Again, we talk about sustained winds when we talk about the Hurricane Center advisory, but we're looking at also in the real world, you get higher gusts. It's going to be worse right there on the coast. I am really worried about Myrtle Beach and North Myrtle Beach. I'm going to be honest with you here. Down to Garden City, that area could get hammered. I don't know when the high and low tides are, but it may not matter. There's going to be a lot of surf overwash there, and the waves do most of the damage with hurricanes. I'd say they do 70 to 80% of the damage in hurricanes, storms like this especially. The wind can do a number like it did with Michael. That was a Cat 5. But these lower end storms, you look at the storm surge, you look at the flooding, and you have some trees down, yes, inland. That's going to happen, but that happens actually more as it moves inland because the deciduous trees aren't as equipped to handle these wind gusts, especially when they come out of the east, like they do with storms. All right, so this is still holding together up through west of Wilmington as it nears Fayetteville and I-95 around Raleigh. Look at this. You've got wind gusts to 51 knots, and that's about 56 miles per hour here. Nearing it on 47 knots, that's about 52, 53 miles per hour in Emporia. And those higher winds, about 40 knots, so about 45 mile per hour gusts around South Hill. Danville, about 27 knots, about 30. You add about 5 to that for the miles per hour, so it's about 32 miles per hour. And then even Lynchburg's getting up to about 30 miles per hour here, but Farmville could get 44 knot gust, and that would be about 47 there. That would be close to 50 miles per hour. So there may be some wind alerts issued. We'll see from Wakefield and from Sterling and from the Blacksburg Weather Service office, and you'll get those on my page, and I'll pass it along manually as well. On my Twitter page, I've got all the alerts there posting if you want to see those. But it's still up the coast there. And by the way, going into New Jersey too, they're going to get some wind and rain from this Delmarva all the way up the coast. But it does take a peak inland. It's almost like it could emerge back over the Chesapeake Bay there, and it holds together fairly well. It really does, especially for the storm it is. So what this model is also telling me, since it's holding together so well, is that the NAM thinks it's going to strengthen, and it could. It's got the Gulf Stream out there. The center's still over water. Some of that dry air it was fighting earlier, it's not in place really to the north as much because we've got so much moisture in place here. So you could see some rapid strengthening of this. And so let's say it moves into Charleston instead of Myrtle Beach. So you're still going to have the impacts because in our area, we've got that jet stream. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. We'll go to the NAM. And I'll just show the national because it's probably going to be easier to look at. Virginia's right here. This is the jet stream. And you can see the colors here. This is where the air is blowing really fast and trying to lift stuff. So lift things up. Our hurricane or our tropical system will be down in here. It doesn't show up on the jet stream, but as it moves closer, you can see that jet stream actually intensifies, and so it's going to absorb this storm, and some of the moisture in the lift will stay in place. That concerns me that the jet stream doesn't really move. It just kind of sits there, and that's going to allow the lift to continue. Let's go back to the radar and see what's up here. We'll go to listening to something on the scanner. All right. So our storm, or one of our stronger storms, is still in the Union Hall area around the Smith Mountain Lake Dam in the southern Bedford County here. It's nearing Amherst, Gretna, and Chatham. We've got general rain around Rocky Mount, so it's not so bad in Rocky Mount and Martinsville at the moment. I've noticed these storms will flare up and they'll die off and they'll flare up again. But it's not the typical scattered shower and storm. It's being driven by a lot of dynamics in the atmosphere and the tropical system moving in. The interaction from that is beginning. Carroll County, southern Floyd County on Route 221, some heavier rain here. On 58, we've got some heavier rainfall. South of Hillsville, we've got a decent cell there. We had that warning out earlier, but nothing at the moment. Right now, it could be weakening some. It looks like as we're showing you this. So let me load the loop here, and it may take a second. Didn't take too long, did it? So there we go. I'm going to tilt the image so you can see where it's coming from here. That's like a sideways look. I'll take off the roads temporarily. Make it less noisy. Shrink this back down. There we go. So you can see it's kind of like the actual line is moving like this. The individual cells are moving up like this from the line. So as we go throughout the day today, we're going to continue to see these showers and storms, and they're going to be moving in from the south in a general northeast direction as far as cell movement is concerned. So that can also, that's a recipe also for flooding and flash flooding, because you can see here south of Dobson and Elkin, you can see how these new cells, if you look at the intensity, start to pop back up over time. They start to re-intensify. And so they're going to be pretty stubborn on weakening. I don't think they're going to weaken all too much. In fact, I'm looking at a lot of strengthening going on in some of this. So that's your update for right now. Let me leave you with a wide view of the radar. And we just got a special weather statement for the cell over southern Franklin County. So let me read that to you here. Winds in excess of 30 miles an hour, moving northeast at 25. Bedford, Huddleston, Pinhook, Evington, Forest, Leesville, in southern Smith Mountain Lake in the cell of this. Torrential rainfall occurring may cause localized flooding. And never drive across a flooded roadway, especially at 4:30 in the morning. That's your update for right now. I'm going to have more on Cable 12's Rise and Shine at 7 a.m. and we'll have more here on social media as needed.